Hey, hey, Michelle here from thesoultranslator.com and the Sensate Soul, where you can also find the Empowered Empath Soul Camp. Lots of energy, empath, and soul for sensitives and sensitive entrepreneurs who are bringing their gifts and strengths out into the world in their lives and their livelihoods. I don't know if you can tell right now, if things are wiggling around. I live in a floating home, and we just had a really big wave. So if I'm kind of jostling about here, that's why. There's no earthquake. It's just a floating home moving with the waves. So today in this video, I am really excited to share this quick story and also a way to reframe empowerment. So let's just dive right into it. Here's the story. So the other day, it was my son's birthday. And I was in the supermarket, and I was up really early. He's a teenager; he sleeps pretty late, so I don't know why I was worried about getting up there and getting his balloons and his birthday cake made really early. I'm standing in line, and I'm getting his balloons so that I can surprise him with his breakfast, his birthday cake in bed on his birthday. That's one of our traditions. And I was sitting there, standing there, feeling, there's this thing that happens sometimes when channeled information or translations are coming in, because of being a sensate and because of also being, having a certain amount of synesthesia, which is basically it's a heightened sense of being able to, it's like your senses switch. So you can taste, thoughts, you can hear emotions. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I noticed that I'm starting to go into like this kind of tunnel, auditory tunnel. And I paid attention to what I was thinking about in that moment, because I was really tapping into this place of where really does power and surrender meet? And I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment and tie it in, because quite frankly, I was feeling really frickin' frustrated around this like duality of like, so much about spiritual growth and mindfulness and energy awareness and personal awareness, and then how that, if it does reflect into our professional growth, if we're, being who we are in our work as well, which hopefully we all are, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, being your whole self in all that you do is a good way to be. It's definitely what most of us seem to be striving for. Well, I shouldn't say that, not most of us, right? But more and more of us, let's put it that way. Let's keep it on the high vibe here. So I was, tuning into my frustration, even though it was my son's birthday, even though, I was really happy and grateful in that moment. There has been this continued story in my head that has been really frustrating around how do you connect power and surrender. And so as I was saying, I was feeling this, condensing of senses and kind of going into this acoustic tunnel. And that's like, and everything in my body starts tingling. And it's like that, soul is and energy is the matrix going, Michelle, pay attention. Something's coming through the pipelines here. And it's interesting. So I was just kind of tuning out of this advertisement I was hearing on the radio as I'm standing in line waiting for my balloons. And I heard louder than how it was on the radio, this one little line in this, in the content of this ad. And it said, and I get chills even now when I think about it, it said, trust is power. And then zoom, and I'm back, and I'm feeling the words reverberate through my energy system, through my emotional system. Everything was like, oh, that's it. Trust is power. So this is, and I feel this is actually one of the most important, to me, things that I want to bring into as a as a real focal point in my work and in those that I help around this concept of trust is power. And it's more than a concept, it's a way of being. This is what true empowerment is. So let me back up here for a moment and talk about empowerment with empaths. Let's actually take it one step back and talk about empowerment in general. The word itself can seem really, shall we say, intimidating for some people and exhilarating also for us, because this empowerment can have this kind of power over idea that those who are empowered are bigger, mightier, stronger, more, just more. And that power itself can and has had a really, convoluted kind of history when you look at patriarchy, when we look at what we do to the environment. So of course, there's so much that can be said about all of that, but what I really want to hone in on here is this idea that power truly, as I'm seeing it and feeling it and relating to it now, is truly that place where the yin and yang of power and trust come together. And trust is like the Holy Grail for most of us. It is the thing that most of us are wanting, whether it's trusting ourselves, being able to trust the unfolding and the path of our life, trusting God or Goddess or whatever your particular faith and your relationship with that. Trusting others in relationship, in business, in, let's just say that trust is like the infinite priced commodity, is the infinite source of power that most of us are wanting to tap into and to have. And this comes to the self-trust piece. And peace as in P-I-E-C-E and P-E-A-C-E. I'm always going to put in a little wordplay there for fun. Okay, so I will say more about this in more videos, but what I really want to introduce here, particularly for empaths and sensitives, and for as well for those who watch these videos who aren't, because I am also talking a great deal about a general sense of spiritual connection with yourself and your life. So I hope that this is also really useful for those who don't identify as empaths, sensitives, or sensitive entrepreneurs. But for particularly the reason why I chose the word empowered empath, Soul Camp, and in the work that I do, is because that empowerment is about self-trust. It is about trusting your senses as being a sensate. That's everything that I have going into a sensate soul. Is this trusting your senses, being embodied, trusting the unfolding of your life and your path, trusting yourself. I mean, really. And empaths and sensitives, so many of us have been raised in situations, and also the world itself is still learning how to respect sensitivity. I said this recently in a live notification I did that, there's this inclusivity around seeing people and their uniqueness and how they identify. And I always feel like when I see these things, I'm like, gosh, thank goodness. What about the sensates? What about the sensitives? What about the empaths? And truly, truly embracing who we are. And that has to begin with us embracing who we are, because it always starts with us. So that's where this power, this trust is power, comes in so strongly. That the empowered empath, the empowered sensate, the empowered empathic and spiritual sensitive entrepreneur is really trusting who they are, and that who they are matters, and that bringing that who they are and their gifts and their talents and their sensitivities and their abilities into their life and work. Now, I'm not going to give any sort of little pointers of things to do, because I wanted to just introduce this concept, because it's going to probably be you're going to be hearing more about it. So I invite you just to tune into this place of where does trust and power come together for you in your life, and how do you relate to trust? How do you relate to power? And when I say relate, you can think about it, but I really invite you to feel into your body, feel into your emotions, your energetic system, your nervous system. When you feel into what does trust really mean for you, and get kind of like a barometer, get the temperature of how that feels for you. And then think about, feel into, visualize power. What does that bring for you? And how do you sense into that? And really, ideally here, to bring in, to marry this idea of trust being power, and power being being in a place of power means that you're trusting yourself, you're trusting life, you're trusting the goodness, and you're trusting the abilities to be able to expand as who you are, and the safety in that. So this is more to be said on this, absolutely, but do get a sense of what is your relationship to these two words, and how can they come together more in you and for you as a way to be able to feel more empowered. As you know, also, I like to joke that the empath and the empowerment, you just flip those M and E, so it's a me-path and me-powerment. And when I say that, it's not as a selfishness or arrogant or anything of that sort. It is truly that as empaths, we're reclaiming our me path, because we can be so pulled out of ourselves by the energies, emotions of everything around us, and that weakens us. Actually, it's like the Achilles heel. Our greatest strength can be our greatest weakness. So it's really about changing that relationship through self-awareness, through self-care, to be able to get into a place of me path. And that empowerment piece is about empowering yourself in ways so that you are bringing together the trust of who you are and that empowerment, the power piece, together, so that you can be your amazing whole soul self. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has been incredibly useful for you. Please do, of course, add any comments that you want to share or questions that you have, and I will get to those as soon as I can, for sure. And also, if we don't know each other yet, you can find me at thesoultranslator.com, and also the soon coming home of A Sensate Soul. Alrighty, talk to you all very soon. See you in the next video.